In this lecture, I'm going to show you how to apply a transition when navigating to a new route. To keep things simple, I'll be using the animate.css library, as we did in the section on animations and transitions. I have used npm to install it and included the CSS file within the index.html file. Applying a transition or animation when changing the page is actually extremely easy. The router view component is actually kind of a dynamic component, so all we need to do is to wrap this component within a transition tag. So let's do that within the app component. I'll do it to the route outlet down here. So let's add a transition and move the router view tag in there. So everything now works exactly the same as we saw earlier in the course. So for the remainder of this lecture, there's nothing that you haven't seen before, because things work exactly as with dynamic components. Remember that to integrate the animate.css library, we need to add the animated class along with a class for the particular effect that we want to apply to the element. In this case, I'll be using the fade in right and fade out left effects for the enter and leave transitions respectively. So let's add these classes to the transition tag. So enter active class equals animated first of all, and then the fade in right class. And I'll just duplicate this line and define the class to fade out left and change to the leave phase here. Remember that you can change the duration of the transitions by adding a class with the animation duration CSS property. Alright, so let's see what it looks like. So let's refresh the page and let's try to go to the card and go back. So we do see a transition, but it doesn't look quite right, partially because the content is jumping, a challenge that we faced before. Perhaps you remember the solution, adding a mode attribute to the transition tag. Since we want the current content to be removed before transitioning in the new content, we should use a mode of out-in. So back to the template. Let's add this mode attribute and specify the value to out-in, like I just said. Let's repeat the test from before, and everything should look better now. And indeed, this is the case. Note that the reason that the navigation bar jumps up and down is because of the special offer being added or removed at the top. If that was not there, things would look a little smoother, so don't pay too much attention to that. That's really all there is to adding transitions or animations when changing routes. It's really the same thing as transitioning between dynamic components, and you can use all of the same features as discussed earlier in the course. In this example, we just used a transition from the animate.css library, but you could apply any transition that you want.